Hey, what is up, investors? So, last year, one of the most popular stocks that everybody was talking about that had a big IPO was Snowflake, ticker symbol SNOW. Now, if you remember the stock, it was talked about so much on YouTube that when the IPO came out, the stock went to a really high price, way above what everybody expected it to. It went above $300 per share, and then the next day, the stock basically crashed. So after the IPO, not a whole lot of people really talked about Snowflake that much anymore because, well, all the hype was on the IPO. But Snowflake in general is a really interesting company. I mean, this is a cloud computing company, a lot of revenue that this company brings in, and many companies they're doing business with. So this is pretty much one of the biggest players when it comes to cloud computing. Now, Snowflake did actually do really well though in 2020 after all that hype kind of went away. I mean, Snowflake had a really big run in November going into December, and then eventually the stock started to trickle back here as we got into 2021. And now Snowflake stock is sitting at a price that is actually lower than it was during its IPO, but Snowflake's revenues are actually better. So I want to be talking about Snowflake stock in this video. So as we get to it, if you guys don't mind, please do me a huge favor and please be sure to smash the story and annihilate that like button to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, to help spread this video to more people that might find it interesting. Also, subscribe if you have not already. And if you want to be a Patreon and join the private Discord, I have one. Link is in the description. Now let's get to it. So this is Snowflake stock over the last 7 months or so since the stock had its IPO. And the IPO was a big deal. I mean, everybody was talking about Snowflake stock. The stock got pumped up so much. Just a good example of YouTubers pumping up Snowflake. Meet Kevin. I like Meet Kevin, but a prime example here. Talking about Warren Buffett invested in the Snowflake. It was a big deal talking about the IPO and talking about people getting into it. And then it drops. The problem with Snowflake stock. I know it's just kind of funny how it was such a big thing when the stock came out, and then it didn't meet up to everybody's expectations because it was way overpumped. I mean, even I made videos covering Snowflake stock, but then when everybody stopped talking about Snowflake and it just did its own thing, it did very well. It did very well going into December, and the stock went up so much during that time, and I don't remember really hearing anybody talking about it. And then it came down, and now it just hit its all-time low, or I should say the lowest it's been, since it had its IPO. But if we look at the 52-week range, I mean, over the last 52-week range, Snowflake stock is traded between $192, which is where it just hit, to $429, where it was back in December. That is pretty crazy if you think about how this stock right now this company is doing really good, how it's more than half as much as it was from its highs back in December. And not a whole lot has changed. I think things have even gotten much better. So let's just look a little bit into this. So Snow is going to be releasing their Q1 2021 earnings on May 26th. So that's coming out soon. So right now we're just going to be looking at the all 4 quarters of 2020. And what we know is that each quarter the revenues were higher and higher every single time they reported. Now, what some investors did not like was the net income, which was negative $198.94 million. Now, keep in mind that this has a lot of people that like Warren Buffett attached to it. And so it has a lot of value investors and a lot of people that aren't really all about investing into growth stocks like what Snowflake is. Snowflake is a pure growth stock play. This company is still spending a lot of money on things like research and development, for example, which is a pretty large expense of the companies, which just the previous quarter in Q4 2020, that research and development was $94 million of their expenses. So keep that in mind that this is a growth stock. This is not a stock to expect them to be generating any sort of profits right now. But a lot of this company looks really nice. I mean, if we were looking at their balance sheet and we were looking at from quarter after quarter and just looking at the total assets versus the total liabilities in Q4 2020, the total assets were $5.92 billion versus total liabilities of $985.27 million. And the assets grew from quarter to quarter if we were to look at it. I mean, of course, so did the liabilities. The liabilities also grew. And just taking a further look into everything, I mean, their cash and short-term investments for Q4 2020 was $3.92 billion, and their total debt was $204.54 billion. So when you look at it like that, I mean, debt's cheap in the comparison of how much cash they have. So this company is spending just a lot of money right now on growing their business. Now, I realize that, and I'm sure a lot of other investors out there realize it, but there's a lot of smart money that also realizes it, and they realize that this stock is very cheap. So let's go look at who's investing into Snowflake. So these are the top 10 owners of Snowflake stock, and Berkshire Hathaway is still one of the top owners, but they have not been adding any more shares. But if you remember, one of the big things with Berkshire Hathaway, a lot of people were talking about how Warren Buffett made a deal with Snowflake before the IPO and made a pretty large investment in the stock, and they got it for a bit of a discount. So that could be why Berkshire Hathaway is not adding any more shares, but it's also showing that they're not selling any shares. But they could also be buying more shares, and that's something that we could be hearing about here soon. Now, as far as these other guys, though, I mean, look at how much money they're spending on buying more shares of Snowflake. They're increasing the amount of shares by a lot. I mean, there are so many large investments being made right now into Snowflake, and it makes you think, how cheap is Snowflake stock really right now with how much money is being spent on these big whales investing into them? Now, to give you an idea of what the analysts are thinking about this is we look at the forecast, and what we can see is that the price that Snowflake is at currently is not even on the lowest end of the forecast from what the analysts are saying where Snowflake stock could go. I mean, the high is $350, the medium is $282, and the low $245. So when you look at it like that, if that's what the forecast is, then Snowflake stock is very cheap right now. So with that being said, I'd like to hear what your guys' thoughts are on Snowflake. Is there anybody out there that is investing in the Snowflake? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. So, as always, everybody, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. New videos coming out on my channel all the time. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you all in the next video coming very soon.